Right, click link showing channel here over at SubStars and over Odyssey. So the Stone Cold Steve Austin 316 bottom line truth is if you subsidize something, you're going to get more of it. It's just that easy. Comics, video games, movies, just don't support this woke cancer. Leave it up to the left. If they like this stuff so much, they can support it. So the left-wing video game industry is in a very brittle position right now because what what they did to movies and everything else is what's happening to video games right now. So this guy allegedly makes a very mild comment saying games have gotten too political. Fair enough, that's pretty commonly expressed, but he's somebody in the industry, and whether or not he said it or not, who knows. But they go, oh, it's a controversial statement. You know, why? Getting politics out of video games? But be a little bit less preachy? Go some kind of Hugo Boss or something. Is that what you're saying? Because the politics in games, movies, comics, whatever, is obviously far left. And there's a whole Sean Combs video to be done, but it's kind of tricky to do it on YouTube because YouTube tells you what areas they don't want you to go down, what areas they don't want you to explore. So he said something like a reversion to a time before games were imposing morals on players, and the only people who find that controversial are people at PC Gamer and Kotaku and IGN and a bunch of the most, let me zoom in on this, the most insane soy boys ever. So the left has got a fragile belief system such that they can't allow diversity of thought. They can't allow options because it's kind of a house of cards, precariously balanced, where if people have options not to have the gay flags in Spider-Man and probably in more videos, games than that, can I just remove, can I have a mod that removes the flag? No, we'll ban you for that. Then if you have the option, you're not going to have gay flags in your game. And the left just doesn't want things for them. They want to control your options as well. And, you know, the FOMA, fear of missing out, is what gets people to keep supporting Hollywood and video games for new things, for Netflix, for streaming, all that kind of stuff. But it's fear of missing out meets the intermittent chicken experiment, where you have a chicken pecking at something to get a treat, and they figured out how much of a reward it has to randomly get before it stops pecking at the button to get. I mean, that's one thing you can train a chicken, probably like the world's dumbest animals, to do is peck at this button to get a treat release. And the thing is with Hollywood is it has gotten to the point where things are so bad with Marvel, DC, and this kind of genre of superhero movies, which I used to kind of enjoy. Now I look at it like, oh, this is friggin' horrible, is that when they have 5 bad movies to 1 good one, you go, the ratio is just not worth it. You add up, so you're going to spend like $100 in the theater to go see 1 good movie? That's crazy. Or even with the streaming stuff, they try to drown you with so many videos on there, but when you actually look at what they have, most of it is garbage, and you go, is this worth like $15-20 a month? And then they add in ads, and every once in a while you start looking like, I just got to cut this, because you're not missing out when it's all crap. When the best they can come up with is that Deadpool Part 3, and people go, oh, what a fun movie, it did over $1 billion. You look at that and like, you're just settling. That's not a good movie. It's an okay movie, but that's all it is. Movies are supposed to be more than okay. Anyway, these left wingers, they get so worked up, touch grass, my guy, over the video. I'm not paying for any of this, so I'm pretty well relaxed over the video game guys saying that games have gotten too woke, or implying that, or when then the games and the movies fail, it's their religion failing. That's why diversity in comics, like when did comics get started? Like 70 years ago or more. That's why they got so outraged by a guy sitting in a car talking about how stupid comics were, and he had like 50,000 people at the time or less, and it shouldn't have been a big deal, but they made it a big deal. It's kind of how the left wing over the past few years has kind of started to create the rise of the further right. It's like they made it happen because, anyway. So there's this meme of maybe I'll use it as the thumbnail of the She-Hulk image, where you see her high heels, and you could show the meme. Yeah, maybe I will. Hold on. So this is the meme for She-Hulk. It says, Marvel Studios, sorry incels, not all content is made for you. Original series on Disney. But except that nobody watched the show. It bombed. it means that the left didn't support the show that, purportedly was made for them. So even their memes don't make sense. They're just angry. And then they put out a meme like this, and you're like, so you own the Chad Nazis by making a show that they didn't watch? Or maybe they've, you probably saw a few, you're kind of hoping, you go, oh, Marvel comics were fun when I was a kid. And maybe they could just do a little Ally McBeal thing, just something lighthearted. For the love of God, can you just do a fucking Ally McBeal? People really want to have a little escapism. What do you get? You get this the stupidest. They just can't let it go. And when they break the fourth wall and they show the writers' rooms, like, oh, you look exactly like I expected. A bunch of diversity hires and soy boys. So their memes don't make sense. They own people who you tuned in for a few episodes. You're all, so the season 1, episode 1. There's 2 women talking. And some fair-skinned person of the light, some blonde man walks in there and says something stupid, and that's like in the first 5 minutes. You could make them black or Asian just for shits and giggles? Hey, Charlie's Angels, the one thing that surprised me was the bad guy in the first couple of minutes was some kind of Asian guy. That was a little bit out of left field. And I'm sure there was an editor in the background who was like, we got to make him blonde. And the producers, the directors, like, no, it's fine with an Asian guy. It's like, it doesn't have to be anti-white every single time. Every once in a while they slip up, but I know there are people who would have tried to talk her out of that when she made that decision. Anyway, nobody watches these shows. They bomb, which means the left wing doesn't make the show. They don't watch the show that's made for them. And it fails to get renewed for a second season, so none of their logic makes sense. And then they get incandescent with rage when you ask them, so why don't you guys watch these shows? They're made for you. The Acolyte, it's a little like a black girl or something, and I think most of the Disney Star Wars is black lesbians now in space or something, or witches. It's like, these are obviously made for you. And that's reality is, if you watch the shows, then they will get second seasons, and they don't watch the crap. All these woke shows have like a pox female, pansexual, otherkin type of stuff. Put a black chick in it, and make it diverse, make it lame, make her gay. So that's obviously not for that's not for people like us. And the left doesn't support it. But they already know that the right is not going to watch it, and straight men are not going to watch it because it doesn't represent them, which the left always says representation. So why doesn't the left watch their own cancer? I mean, I can list dozens of woke girl power streaming shows and movies of the past 10 years that have bombed, especially the animations have been really, what was it, Strange World? There have been some like $250 million bombs. So the thing is, on paper, movies like The Marvel and Madam Web, those should have done well with women. It's what they claim to want. Now, logically, we all know that women don't watch as much action-adventure and are not into this genre. And they know that too, and yet they still make the movies. The only way would sell, or Terminator All-Female Edition, where I guess you kill the Terminator and John Connor, so it's just like 3 chicks, but instead of John Connor, now you have a Mexican girl. So the only way it would sell is if it was based on a romance, because that's what chicks are into. And even saying that, like saying the obvious, like, oh yeah, romance goes a long way with chicks. It's just biology. They'll lose their mind over that. But Disney's are filthy globalist lizard people parasites, and they won't show traditional families. So I was going to say they won't show traditional blonde, people of the light, European families. So the show's bombed, but actually I think it even goes further than that. Like, you would think, you want to play up the POC families, but even that is not far left enough for them anymore. Because yes, they want to show POCs because they obviously want to replace the people of the light, but they'll have like an Indian guy and a black guy with a black kid that they somehow, I guess, bought from a mother or something. What movie is that? The Eternals or something? Because it's like they have to check every freaking box. I mean, at least for now they're still male, but I mean, eventually they'll make them female. I guess then eventually they'll probably make them trans, and then you're kind of full circle. And it's the same with the video games. As now they're getting increasingly woke, and they're, at least for Conquered, was hundreds of millions of dollars. And then you had Dustborn, and this new Dragon Age game was designed by a BLT person, guy with long hair sort of thing. And you're not allowed to, you have a sliding scale that you can change the body types, but you can't make the characters beautiful because beauty triggers them. You guys have one joke, holds up a mirror. Oh, So they don't want the availability of feminine, curvy women because that's a real, biological woman. It's what the word used to mean. They want androgynous characters. You can get the characters to have scars, but when you adjust the chest sliding thing, you can't go anything beyond a B cup, which is bizarre because many women, I don't know, the average is probably a B cup, but there's a ton of women who are left out of that representation. There's a lot of women who have, really, I'm getting distracted by Melker talk, aren't I? Who have more than that. Their cuppeth overflow, megalarpalus. So they have this really fragile worldview because let me show you this. It's just a fucking abomination. What's the game that has really sold well? Warhammer 40K, because they're giving, for now, they're giving people what they want, but I guarantee they're going to woke that up. They just can't help themselves. Didn't they already make some of the Marines female or something like this? So anyway, this is their one of their body modifications, is that they're giving women scars on their chest because they're removing functioning body parts. Doesn't quite make sense to us, but it's that's kind of their world view, because they believe a lot of things that just aren't true. So they try to change how people talk about reality to get people to all agree to go along with the fiction that they're pushing. To say that men aren't women is triggering to them, and they'll go on long emotional tirades arguing that no. If you redefine the words, they actually are. But this is just Tower of Babel situation. I mean, where do you think society goes when you are really, you're literally trying for Weimar 2.0? I mean, what's the natural conclusion of all? No. We're gonna have a utopia. Everything will work perfectly. Well, based on feelings. Yeah, I don't see that happening. And open borders, and taxpayer funded everything. But there's a shrinking tax base due to parasitical losses in the system. It's like you're inevitably heading for a collapse. Have you seen go look at a chart of inflation for the past 100 plus years, since past 125 years at least. Go look at that. Go look at that chart of inflation. You're like, anyway, so to say men are not women, and they just whine about that, and because in their world they have to be, because they believe that the words mean whatever they want them to mean at the time. They're like, definitions are transactional to them. They're not. There are words that are allowed to have concrete definitions, and then there are superstructure words, like a lot of the istophobic words, and then the words that are, I guess, nouns, right? Male, female, man, and woman, that have used to have concrete definitions. They will use the superstructure manipulative language, like istophobicism, to change those concrete words into transactional words. There's actually a video I want to do on this, but I don't have enough knowledge about how the words work. I know there's calling something sexist, right, and all those other sort of words that relate to the ists and the phobes and the antis. Those aren't real words because they're not organic, because they've been manipulated by the media into being pejoratives to manipulate society through a Pavlovian response to create these words that are just neutral words, but they have a negative response because they have total control of the media and academia. So there needs to be a language that studies this, and it's like, oh yeah, it seems like a university would be ripe for that. You should have PhD programs, but they can't, because the universities are institutionally captured. There's whole areas of study, I mean, especially dealing with IQ, that just can't be touched on because of institutional capture. You don't have all these universities and the media. It's like they have a narrative to push. That's why some things are verboten in universities, and kind of have been ever since the 80s and 90s. Even a Japanese researcher into cognitive abilities got in trouble because he was studying things he shouldn't have studied, and the American people who are in America put pressure on the Japanese university to try to get this guy in trouble because they didn't want certain things studied. The left has a very fragile worldview. That whole open marketplace of ideas keeps coming back and back because they can't have that. They can't have a vigorous cross-examination where a Supreme Court judge doesn't know the definition of a woman, because it's whatever they tell her it is for the purpose of this argument. It's like, doesn't feel like a very stable society. Yeah, obviously it's not. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys on the next episode.